Stallion. Everybody who knows who Meg Thee Stallion is. But when I heard Tory Lanez, I was like, who in the hell is Tory Lanez?
Same.
Did you know that he's a rapper?
Did not.
That tells you everything you need to know about Tory Lanez.
I don't know new rap. I listen to 90s, 80s, early 2000s rap. Like the new rappers, you know, I tried to listen to them at one point. My sister tried to get me to listen to them, and I just couldn't get into it, you know. The lyrics just weren't as good.
Well, I mean, you ain't really wrong. So, I mean, is it really like it's more? I guess it's kind of subjective, but in the onset of capitalism, the quality of music overall has really dropped, right? If we're talking about the music business itself and what's pushed out towards us, right? So that I'll say, yeah. So
these new songs are like 2 minutes long, man. There was a song called what's the one Hotel Motel Sugar Hill Gang. Mm-hmm. Sugar Hill Gang. I said a hip hop, a hippie to the hippie to the hip hip. The song's like 11 minutes long. Mm-hmm. The songs today are like 2 minutes long. I'm like, what was that?
Yeah. So the thing, and like for instance, they don't have those nice intros like Rick James had with Fire and Desire, you know. And he bring it in, you know. I used to love
even like Eminem and like Dr. Dre, and like they had, you know, like the next episode they were like doom 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 do 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 la di da di da. It's the motherfucking G-O-double-G Snoop Dogg. They don't have anything like that.
Yup. So let me share this just to give us a background. Oh, I can hear myself. Okay. It says, what to know about the Meg Thee Stallion shooting case. So they're calling it the Meg Thee Stallion shooting case. So let me enlarge that just so everybody can see. It says in January, after a nearly 2-week-long trial, a Los Angeles jury found rapper Tory Lanez guilty of shooting rapper Meg Thee Stallion and Defeat in the summer of 2020. Lanez was convicted of 3 felony charges: assault with a semi-automatic handgun, carrying a loaded unregistered firearm in a vehicle, and discharging the firearm with gross negligence. Throughout the course of the trial and leading up to it, Lanez, a Canadian whose legal name is Daystar Peterson. Black people, we really need to start talking to each other about these names. Adamantly denied the allegations against him and pleaded not guilty. After his conviction, Lanez filed a motion arguing that he had been deprived of a fair trial and lobbied for a do-over, but that request was denied. He faced more than 20 years in prison and potential deportation, though prosecutors asked that he be sentenced to 13 years in prison. On Tuesday, following a 2-day sentencing hearing, Lanez was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Lanez addressed the court ahead of sentencing per TMZ. He referred to Megan as his friend and someone I care for dearly to this day, according to legal affairs reporter Megan Cuniff, who was in the courtroom. Says since the shooting, both Megan, and whose legal name is Megan Pete, and Lanez have shared allegations on social media, and misinformation about the case has spread widely. Let's run down how we got here in the first place. Sabs, any thoughts so far? I think you're muted.
Whoopsie. When I first heard about this story, I was just like, was this an accident? Did he, did his gun accidentally go off and it she was shot in the foot, or was this on purpose? Like, why did this happen? And I honestly didn't expect to hear much more from this story after that, because it kind of like, it was big news and then it just went away. Mm-hmm. But apparently here we are now where he is being held accountable, apparently.
Yeah. It says in the summer of 2020, Megan accused Lanez of shooting her in the feet. In July of 2020, Megan was seen getting into a police car with bloody feet and was subsequently taken to the hospital. Reports initially suggested she sustained injury from broken glass and had been arrested after a night of partying with friends. But shortly thereafter, it emerged that Lanez, who was also in the car, had been arrested for possession of an unregistered firearm. A few days later, Megan claimed in a since deleted Instagram post that she had suffered a gunshot wound to her feet as a result of a crime that was committed against me and done with the intention to physically harm me. At the time, she did not specify who shot her. During Instagram Live in the next month, however, Megan named her alleged assailant, claiming it was Lanez. She did not initially tell police that she had been shot, explained that in the moment she hadn't trusted them to protect her. Why the F would I tell the police somebody got a gun in his car and this shot me? She said, so I can get shot, you can get shot, she can get shot, he can get shot. And
well, what was he doing with the unregistered gun, Jaybe?
That's the
it doesn't make him look good in the situation.
What was T.I. doing with the unregistered gun? I mean,
don't get me started. He wrote a whole song. T.I. wrote a whole song about why he had that gun. Dead serious. Dead serious. He said he had to protect himself because people were after him. I don't know.
Oh boy. Anywho, during the Instagram Live next month, however, Megan named her alleged assailant, claiming it was Lanez. You know, it says in an Instagram Live, Lanez denied the allegations and cast doubt on whether Megan had ever been shot in the first place. He also suggested that if she had been shot, she couldn't have seen who was shooting if they were walking away from the car at the time she sustained her injuries. Lanez was officially charged on October 2020 with 1 count of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, 1 count of carrying an unregistered weapon. According to the charges, he, Megan, who was not explicitly named in the charges, and 2 other individuals were driving in the Hollywood Hills when an argument broke out. Eventually, the car stopped and Megan got out, which is when Lanez allegedly fired several shots at her feet.
Wasn't this over like a cheating incident?
Maybe, I don't know. It says Megan released text. She says Lanez sent her after the shooting. So this is going to get interesting. In February 2022, Megan posted the deleted images of text she claimed that Lanez had sent her after the day after shooting. They included one that appears to have been sent on the night of July 12th, which reads, I genuinely want you to know I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. At the time of his arrest, Lanez reportedly called Megan's friends saying, what happened already. I can't take it back. I'm just telling y'all I'm sorry. So Meg, you're probably never going to talk to me again, but I generally want you to know I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. And I was just too drunk. This shit should have never happened.
Oops. Well, that's coming from her friend?
That's coming from Tory Lanez. And
text messages are they come back to haunt you, Jaybe.
Yeah, them text messages come back to haunt you. And he says, I just feel horrible. That's the finished part of the text message. Lanez appeared to respond to Megan's post on Twitter, writing, good dick had me fucking 2 best friends and I got caught. That's what I apologize for. It's sick how you spun it too. His attorney, Sean Hawley, claimed that it was Megan and her former friend and assistant, Kelsey Nicole Harris, who were fighting on the night of the shooting. Hawley's further suggested that Lanez fired the gun to protect Megan from Harris.
Oh, see the story. The plot thickens.
The plot thickens like a bowl of oatmeal. It says both Harris and Megan denied the version of events. So if both the women are denying it.
But I don't know. Women, don't fight over these guys. Please don't. There's plenty of fish in the sea. Please don't fight over these guys. I want to read what Sean said. Sean said it was Meg's friend because Meg caught Tory effing her friend. They got into a fight and her friend shot at her all drunk.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Says so after Lane sent this tweet, Megan again took to her Instagram stories, writing in part, "You kept putting the narrative out that me and my friend fell out about you, and that's not true. Why are you skipping over the shooting?" She continued. "You think it's okay to shoot me, then harass me online and make it like this was some weird cat fight when the what is the actual F is wrong with you?" And so that's Tory Lane's tweet, basically saying that because he was with them both, that's why they got at each other and making it seem like that one woman shot the other woman.
And
So
that's why he apologized, because he was messing with two friends.
yeah, and Meg the Stallion basically is like, no, it's actually because you shot me, and it's not over two women catfighting.
That's the thing about the text message, though. It's vague. You
Very,
can relate
very
it to different situations.
vague. Mm-hmm. Says during a hearing in April 2022, judge ruled that Lanez violated his protective order against Megan by tweeting about her. Lanez was handcuffed in court and bail was increased to $350,000. The judge added a new condition to Lanez' release that he was not to mention the complaining witness in this case in any social media. In October, Los Angeles judge put Lanez under house arrest after he violated the conditions of his bail, allegedly assaulting rapper August Alsina, the guy who slept with Will Smith's wife. Oh my God, Jada Pinkett Smith in Chicago. Deadline reported that Lanez did not face criminal charges over the incident. Oh, Megan said that Lanez told her dance beat before he started to shoot at her.
Do you think that happened, Jaybe? Do you think he actually was dumb enough to say that and then do that in front of other people? It's not like she was alone.
Yeah, well, the thing is that her friend that was with her, she also is saying that Lanez was the one that was doing the shooting.
I don't know. This is it. So they were at a club, right? Or outside?
Megan clarified that Lanez was standing over the window shooting, and she said she was afraid to move too quickly to get away. "I didn't know if he could shoot me and kill me." Describing the physical shock of being shot, she said, "The adrenaline pumping so hard, I'm not sure if he hit me. I felt it, but I didn't understand what was happening. So I looked down at my feet. I'm like, oh my God, I'm really bleeding."
So aren't there cameras outside? This is why I'm asking, because usually there are cameras outside of retail stores, outside of clubs, outside of businesses. There are street cameras. You mean to tell me no camera caught this?
That's a good question. And the thing is that I can't play it because it's CBS, but she actually did an interview with Gayle King about it on CBS.
Yeah. Notori said the shooting happened when they left her house. But right, aren't there like cameras somewhere? And I ask this because you see this all the time on local news where someone disappears and they're able to pull cameras from an area that they either lived in or they went through, and they're like, this is when they were last seen by security footage outside in the street. So I'm kind of surprised there's no camera footage anywhere.
Yeah, it is kind of surprising. So I think that's the problem. There is a lawyer. Well, let me get to this because there's some points that I wanted to go over. Yeah, let me do this because there's a lawyer that reacted to. She shared her thoughts basically on the trial and everything that happened. She does a really good job,
Oh, I've
and
seen her.
yeah, she's really good. She talked about she did one video about music and capitalism. She did a great job on that one. So yeah, she's really brilliant. So she's going to go over the charges, and then after that, she's going to go over, the misinformation and the facts. So she's going to go over it. She's a lawyer, so let's hear what she has to say.
Charges. So that way everyone is on the same page what's going on. So this case, a lot of people have, I know colloquially reference the case as the Meg Thee Stallion's case. This is not. My girl is not on trial. She's not on trial. It's funny. It's something that my grandma always says whenever you question her too much. And she's always like, am I on trial? She's not on trial. The case name is the People versus Daystar Peterson, because that is his name. That is Tory Lanez's government name. And that is who's on trial. And I think that's important to remember because the defense thinks otherwise. These are the technical counts. And of course, because I would assume none of us have the California Penal Code memorized, we're going to go through the actual charges. So there are currently 3 charges. A third was recently added. The first being is any person who commits an assault upon the person of another with a semi-automatic firearm shall be punished by imprisonment in the state prison for 3, 6, or 9 years. The second charge is a person is guilty of carrying a concealed firearm when the person does any of the following. These are all various assault and firearm possession charges. And the following is carries concealed within any vehicle that is under the person's control or direction any pistol, revolver, or other firearm capable of being concealed upon the person. And then the last charge, which was recently added, and I will get into my suggestion, or I would say like my thoughts as to why they recently added this based on where the testimony was going, which this is basically gross negligence of discharging a firearm. So except as otherwise authorized by law, any person who willfully discharges a firearm in a grossly negligent manner, which could result in injury or death to a person, is guilty of a public offense and shall be punished by imprisonment in a county jail not exceeding 1 year. So altogether, Tory Lanez is facing 22 years in prison, a little bit over for all 3 charges. One of the charges, again, is simply possession of a firearm, and we'll get into why that one is the easiest charge to prove. So in referring back to who this case is actually about and who is actually standing trial, this is a quote from Megan's testimony in which she stated, "I don't understand why that matters. I've been turned into some kind of villain and he a victim." Megan said as Lanez looked on from the defense table in downtown Los Angeles courtroom, "This has messed up my whole life." She says people call Lanez's trial the Megan Thee Stallion trial, but I am not on trial. I think that's very much important to keep in mind throughout the entirety of the situation. All right, so what is the burden of proof in criminal law? Since we usually cover civil, we'll do a little criminal refresher here. So the burden of proof is on the prosecution and the prosecution alone. Technically, the defense does not even have to take the stand. They would lose, so that generally never happens. But it is on the prosecution and the district attorney to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, which the reasonable doubt is the required burden of proof to affirm a conviction in a criminal case. Essentially, the prosecution has to prove the defendant is guilty beyond all reasonable doubt, which means the prosecution must convince the jury that there is no other reasonable explanation that can come from the evidence presented at trial. So if that is the prosecution's sole job to prove there are no other explanations, the defense has one job, simply to sow doubt and simply to sow the seed of, well, yeah, maybe something happened, but this is a different version of the truth. So that is essentially what defense attorneys, their job is to do.
So my question is, because this is kind of tough because we live in a white supremacist system, right? And someone like, a black man facing something like this can also be thrown under the bus because of this system. However, Tory Lanez is a celebrity, so there's kind of a
right.
Yeah, there's kind of an issue where you can either go the route of Tory Lanez they would be more lenient on him because of his celebrity status, or they'd be more harsher in trying to make an example of him because of his celebrity status.
Right.
So the thing is it's like I don't know exactly where to gauge, because he could have got like 20 years.
Right, but the thing is, again, like, how are they going to prove it? As she's saying, beyond a reasonable doubt. How are they going to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt? Because, again, like we said, there's no security footage. I'm hearing from people in the chat saying like they were all apparently, I guess, leaving Kylie Jenner's house, which I could have. They were all coming from Kylie Jenner's house. Can't tell me there weren't other home cameras that may have caught something that was not released. Exactly. So that's another thing. I feel like they're not telling the full story or the full scope for us to understand everything, that all the events that transpired. And it could just be, we don't know. It could just be that she's protecting someone else. And it might be easier to point the finger at him. We don't know. Again, how are they going to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt when we basically just have he said, she said?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to.
And stay away from the Kardashians. Like, it just good news do not follow.
Look at what happened to all the men in the Kardashian family. One became drunk, one started going back to drugs, another one went crazy and lost his billionaire status. It's just like, dear God. Anywho, just stay away from them. They're I'm sorry, but they're kind of like an arrow tree frog. They look good on the outside, but once you taste it, you get poisoned.
Oh no.
That girl is poison. Sorry. Anyway.
Let's get into the misinformation versus the facts. And I've been following 3 to 4 different reporters. These are the 2 reporters. I think they are very credible and then also have, I would say, like excellent reporting skills. I've been cross-referencing a lot of them because, again, some of these outlets, toothless, couthless, and ruthless. So the first is Megan Cuniff. She is the senior reporter for the Law and Crime News Network. She was shot. The defense attorney is not disputing this. Obviously, the district attorney is putting this forward. So specifically, what was stated in the opening statement by the defense attorney, and a little bit background by Law and Crime. While tabloid-style coverage of the saga has questioned whether Megan was truly shot, the defense attorney, which McDason, I believe is how you say his name, apologize if that's incorrect, I don't practice that. Monday, there's no doubt she was. So again, the defense attorney acknowledges that Megan was shot. Okay. Ultimately, the most important thing is, according to the defense attorney, this is what he stated, is who got out of the car, how the fight started, and what shot the gun. Well, clearly it was a human being. Okay. And according to the defense attorney, and what really happened, McDason says, stems from a jealous eruption driven by Megan during Jenner's party. Megan insisted on leaving with my client. And I'm pointing that out because we're going to get into the defense tactics in the end. It is very interesting, and I'll use that word kindly, to see how the defense is setting up character evidence against the victim and how character evidence is being used throughout this trial. All right. So number 2, misinformation, we're just going to get out in the beginning so that way people can just relax themselves. Yes, there was gun residue. So first, when this came out, both the defense attorney as well as the naysayers who have a legal degrees by osmosis on the internet decided to say there was no gun residue on Tory Lanez. That is actually very false. This is from Megan Cuniff from Law and Crime Network, which she, again, is sitting in the courtroom. We heard from a city of Los Angeles crime analyst who works with LAPD and analyzed gunshot residue. She said it was on Tory and Kelsey, but not Tory's driver. Okay, continuing on. And
if there's gunshot residue on him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I just don't buy it that there's no camera footage anywhere. What celebrity, especially someone as famous as Kylie Jenner, what celebrity doesn't have some type of security cameras outside their house?
That's a good question too.
And have the lawyers asked for that information?
That's also a good question too. Yeah. So as far as whether Tory Lanez is guilty, there are two opposite sides regarding this. We could go longer, but and I'll share this let me share this into the chat so you guys can have that as well. Just to go over the rest of her video, because we can't play the entire thing, of course, because we're limited for time. But they're, they were building a case, Yeah, it says, hell, they usually have a full camera crew. Yeah.
That's a good point, Zach. They're usually always on camera.
Yeah.
So what are they hiding?
Yeah.
I mean, what's on there that maybe they don't want? I just don't buy it that there's no footage anywhere. I don't buy it.
Yeah. That's a good question, man. Also, let me go here. This is out of People magazine. So this says, tormented Megan Thee Stallion shared emotional statement in court ahead of Tory Lanez's 10-year prison sentencing. She says that she struggles at being present after everything that had occurred. I cannot bring myself to being in the same room with Tory. Megan wrote in the statement read by Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney Kathy Ta. I've been tormented and terrorized. And she claims he paid bloggers to disseminate false information. He treated my trauma like a joke when I could have been dead. He blamed the system. He blamed the press. And as of late, he used his childhood trauma to justify his actions. She added, slowly but surely, I'm healing, but it's never been the same. His crime warrants the full weight of the law. So she's sticking to her story from what it sounds like. Yeah. And the one thing I noticed about this entire thing is that you have a divide where there's a lot of people, there's some people who are saying that the fact that not a lot of people, there are some people on one side that believe Tory Lanez. Some Black people, especially Black women, are claiming misogyny and misogynoir by not believing someone like Meg Thee Stallion. And from what I've observed is that a lot of them are pointing to whenever a famous Black man does something wrong, they want to stop the presses and say, no, he's innocent. They're just trying to get at him because he's a Black man. And a lot of people are pointing to people like R. Kelly and people like Bill Cosby and saying, right, well, no, because, they just want to bring a Black man down, when in reality, could they just have been guilty? And so,
well, there was evidence with R. Kelly. So
yeah,
there's that.
Where's the evidence with with this one, as far as like cameras? Because there's a lot of he said, she said. And so there's a lot of people who are going one side or the other. So
you're right. You're right. Because at the end of the day, whether we can believe what we want to believe in reference to what happened. But the thing is like, you have to prove that he did it beyond a reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I've seen so many like court like cases. And the thing is like, let's say, okay, he's there. They said he had a legal gun, so he had a gun, etc. And was he the only one there with a gun? Mm-hmm. Probably not.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So you have to be careful. That's the thing. Like, you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Just because he had a firearm on him that night, one, doesn't mean that he shot her in the foot. And two, it also doesn't mean he was the only person at the party that had a firearm. I failed to believe that he was probably the only one.
Yeah. The question is, did he shoot her? Because the thing is that, he's being on trial by the state. You know what I mean? For
Right.
possession and gross negligence. So
Yep.
yeah. So
Yep.
it's it's like, and the thing is like, even still, was he the one who, oh gosh, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question. Was he the one who actually shot her versus her friend? But her friend is saying, yeah, he did it.
But her friend's gonna take up for her friend.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. For the most part, like the girls aren't going to turn on each other.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that too. The reality is the only people that know exactly what happened were the people who were there. And I don't know. We may never know. But I would ask for that camera footage.
Yeah. Eric says ballistics evidence may have proven that was his gun.
May have. But again, like they still haven't confirmed it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. And so, gosh,
Even if it was their gun, let me tell you guys a story really quick. Back in the day, one of my family members dated a guy who was a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this guy went to prison. He's out of prison now. But let me explain.
Mm-hmm.
He was arrested because one of his family members took his gun and committed a crime with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he says he didn't commit that crime, but the court didn't care. The court's claim was that it was your firearm and you're a police officer and nobody is supposed to have access to your firearm. He went to jail for 8 years.
Yeah.
And he's a cop. He went to jail for 8 years.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, again, like just because it's even if they say it's his gun, that doesn't mean he was the one who did it.
Yeah. But his actions, though, like for instance, it says Megan testified that Lanez offered her $1 million not to tell anyone he shot her. It says, asked if she was nervous after taking the stand, Megan told the court, "I cannot believe I have to come here and do this." Megan reiterated her version of the event, saying that she, Lanez, his bodyguard, and Harris were in the car after leaving a party at Kylie Jenner's house when an argument broke out. In her testimony, Megan claimed that Lanez was angry that she had asked him to leave the party and along the way told her to stop lying to Harris about their relationship. The Times reported that the rapper and Lanez were friends who occasionally had sexual relationship, which Megan and Harris found out about at the time of the argument. While on the stand, Megan again explained her decision not to immediately report the incident to police. At the time, we're at the height of police brutality, she explained. I felt like if I had just said this man shot me, they might shoot first and then ask questions later. She added that she didn't feel safe with the police officers. Megan told the court that she hesitated to speak about the shooting for fear that it might hurt her career. This whole situation in the industry is like a big boys club, she said. Like I'm telling on one of y'all's friends, now you're all going to hate me.
So what? So one may understand the police brutality issue, but again, this is someone who is a celebrity. But
Mhm.
two, she actually said she didn't want to hurt her career.
That's well, because the thing is, a lot of times when women speak out, I mean, it does hurt their careers, in many different ways. So I kind of get that.
But she's speaking out right now. So what's the difference?
I mean, from what it sounds like, is she kind of really had no choice because, I mean, she could have perjured herself.
But how did this whole story end up in court anyway? Like, how did they get there? Somebody reported something.
Well, I mean, she was bleeding, so she had to call the, 911 because, she had to, get taken to the hospital. So I mean, police had to show up, and so she could have just hid it, but she could have kept it hidden, but at the same time, police do what they do, and firearms are recovered and things like that. So, and also on top of that, she could have said, "Oh, I got cut," but then once the people are working on her and looking at it, they can tell if it's a cut or a bullet wound.
True, but I guess what I'm saying is, how did it get to the point where she said it was him? I don't know. Like, it just, I think it's just, it's weird to me. Like, I've seen different versions of the story. Like, one minute it's like they did know, the friend did know. The next version, it's like the friend didn't know, or the friend said she didn't know. Then the friend came back and said she did know. So I'm just like, what?
Yeah. I don't know, man. But he got 10 years. I don't know. He's gonna get time served. So that's what's going on right now. It,
Wow.
has, and then the thing is that what didn't help in the court of public opinion is the way he was behaving outside of it. And we just don't have as much time as I would like to do more of a deep dive. So, but yeah. Yeah. Samantha says the hospital called the police. They're required to. Then police investigate it. Yeah. Yep.
Well, we'll have to see. This is crazy, man.
Yeah.